So we shall discuss what are the various components which are present in the LC-MS-MS. So now, as from the term it is understandable that LC-MS-MS, liquid chromatography, mass spectrometry. So it's the same chromatographic separation using a mass detector. Okay, so this is the complete set of the liquid chromatography, and we have the mass detector. And the greatest advantage of this mass detectors are, as we know, that the greater selectivity and sensitivity of the detector. So nowadays, and due to the regulatory requirements, so these sort of hyphenated techniques are most widely used. So today, so before we would like to proceed on, so with the hardware part of it, and then followed by the how today. So what we will be discussing is how this LC-MS-MS, how to analyze a sample, how to prepare a samples, how to analyze a sample, and then through the LC-MS-MS, what are the various components of these LC-MS-MS. That is what we shall be looking out today. Okay, so as I told you, first switch over the button. Okay, switch over the power button on. So here it has got, you have the, okay, so if you see here, you have binary pump here. Sorry, it's a binary pump here. You got a binary pump followed by the auto sampler, so where the samples are placed, the samples prepared are placed. You have a injector column chamber, and then you have a PDA detector. So additionally you have a PDA detector. So this is an additional data which you can get during your analysis, where on the peak purity or the threshold, all such things, these data can be generated through the PDA detectors. And then you have that is you want only to operate only as an LC, that is liquid chromatography system, or you want to connect it to the mass detector. So you have a converter here, whether you want to use both, any of the things. So I would like to start here with the pump. Okay, so in any HPLC system, so a pump is required. So now what is the purpose of the pump is, now has these the mobile phase. So in the chromatography we have the two components, very important components. One is the stationary phase, another one is the mobile phase we have. So this liquid mobile phase, which is kept on out here in the reservoirs, so they need to transfer from this portion through the injector, through the column, and it has to pass on to the detector. And if you see these all these components have been interconnected through the tubings, which are of very small particle, in a diameter. So in that case, to give external pressure, apply an external pressure in carrying out the mobile phase through all these components for the separation, and then finally to the detector, you need to have you need to apply an external force. So when we are applying, the external force is applied using the pump. So you have a pump here. So the first part of, as I told you, the first part of the this one is, so this is the pump, and you have this is the, so this is the auto sampler. So where the samples are being clipped, you have the this one, you have these, this is the sample chamber where the samples are actually being placed here, and then they are kept inside the track. So all the samples are being prepared and they are poured into the vials, and then they are being placed here. So this is the auto sampler, so where the samples are being kept. So from the auto sampler it moves on to the column chamber. So now this here is the place. So as we all know that, the heart of the HPLC is the column, the stationary phase, that is the column. So here you have the column. So you have different types of columns. So this is nothing but you have the these are ELC, that is the MS columns, which we do call it as, with the smaller in this is a 10 centimeter column. So similarly you have various columns here, and that's why we say that, you know, you can see here we do have various columns here, which is here is we have a 5 centimeter column, and you know, and the greater advantage of this is, you know, you are using a shorter column, so the separation is still quicker. You know, we can analyze in 2 minutes the whatever components, and then finally it moves on to the detector, and from there it is being moved on to the mass detector. Okay, so these are the components of the LC MS. So the first part, so before we start up the this one, the first part is, now these mobile phase have been placed here in the reservoir, the bottle reservoir. So the first part of the the process before we start, so what we have to do is we need to purge the line. We call something as a purging. The purging is nothing but, so here when we are placing the liquid, there could be an air bubble in the tubings. So what happens is, if we are just going to give on the flow rate, so this water bubble which is present, which could be present in these tubings, can go and block the flow. So when it is blocking the flow, so what happens is it creates a back pressure. So there would not be, the flow would not happen through the complete all the components. So for the first to remove that, you know, what we are trying to do is just we have to open the valve. So this is the valve, open it. You know, if you you know, anti-clockwise is open the valve. We have to open just a small this one, and then you have something called as purging here. You can see here the button is purging. So when you click these buttons, so now the purging happens. You know, here what happens is, at, you know, at a 5 ml you know, flow rate, the liquid is actually being you know, gone to the drain. It goes to the drain. So what happens is we are cleaning up the line. So here that by that means what you are doing is we are removing the air bubble, and at the same time the whatever the mobile phase we have kept here, that component, that mobile phase is actually been, we are trying to bring it in the line of the HPLC system. So the purpose of purging is, one is to remove all those air bubbles which are present there, and the second thing is, earlier we might have used some other mobile phase. So here now we are using another fresh mobile phase. So to keep the mobile phase, to bring the mobile phase in the line of the system, so we are carrying out this purging. So this would take about, you know, we have set this would take about, you know, 4 to 5 minutes. So once that is done, then the instrumentation functioning will be happening. Okay, so the first part is the purging. So without purging, do not stop. If you are not doing this purging, if you are not spending this 2 to 3 minutes, then what happens is, obviously sometimes, you know, that could spoil the whole day, where the system might get breakdown, and then, you know, you might have to call the engineer, or, you know, service those, it can go clog those this one. So first part is that. Then followed by that, you know, once the purging is over, then what we have to do is we are going to run the liquid through the system. That is nothing but cleaning. We call it as a cleaning. So usually here we take it as methanol water. Okay, in 1:1 ratio we are going to take methanol water, and then methanol water will be flushed through the system. So when we are flushing through the system, what happens is, any particles in between the line, you know, there is, if there is in the through the complete linings of this system, if any particles are there, you know, that will be washed out. So that is the purpose of, again, you know, giving a washing out of the methanol water through all the linings, because here it can easily identify. So the advantage of this detector is it can easily identify the any component, because it's so sensitive that, you know, a small particle can be identified by the detector. So we need to keep utmost care. We have to take utmost care in the cleanliness of the lines, so that, you know, the unknown particles are not being sent to the detector. Henceforth, that can interfere with the sample where we are actually going to analyze. Okay, so now the purging is happening. So we will have to wait for some 2-3 minutes where the purging is happening. So once the purging happens, then we are going to go for the flushing of the system. So that is what we are actually going to do now. So now, as the purging is over now, what we are going to do is we are going to flush the system. The purging is over, so we have opened the wall anti-clockwise. So that is the opening the wall. So when you open the wall, so the liquid will go to the drain, it will not move on. So what happens here you have the valve. So when you open the valve, what will happen is the liquid is mobile phase is actually coming through these tubings, and it is not passed on to the the injector and to the column. So what happens, it is actually been bypassed here. From here it moves on to the to the waste, to the drain. So that's the the purging. So once the purging is over, so now you have to close the valve. Here, so once the purging is over, so we have to close the valve. So when you close the valve is where the liquid actually now, so initially I told you it will go to the drain. So when you close the valve is where it passes through the injector and to the column chamber. So now I have brought into the manual mode of operation. Otherwise this complete the system can be controlled through a software. So through the software you can control the complete system, but here and you can do it even manually. So now I have done it manually. So when I So you can see here the liquid is actually passing through the injector. The liquid is actually passed through here. So now I'm just keeping it only for the flushing. It's just only the washing part which I'm trying to do now, because if any in the linings of these, so at this part of at this juncture, so here is the injector. So in all these lines are now actually going to be cleaned. You know, I am with the help of methanol water, we are actually cleaning the complete process. So now I'm not actually sending this to this one. Even this can be connected to the detector. You can see the liquid is actually flowing through there. You can connect it to the detector. So when you connect it to the detector, what happens is, you know, even the detector, if you know, sometimes earlier there could be buffer, a salt deposition could be there, so that will be completely removed in case when you do the cleaning. So we are doing the cleaning part out here. So once the cleaning part is done here, so this is okay. So now, so this is the LC part. So now I have kept up the system for washing. So you can see the liquid is actually coming here, where now I am not actually moving on to the mass detector or anything. So here it's just passing through the PDA detector. So here you have the PDA detector. So the liquid is actually passing through the PDA flow cell. This is the flow cell of the PDA detector. So it passes through the flow cell of it, and then I'm just giving it to the drain. So now the washing process of the system is actually taking place. So these small precautionary measures are to be carried out at the beginning stage, because if we are not going to do that, you know, probably at the time of analysis it can create a lot of issues or breakdown or contaminations and all such of things whenever our analysis. Now we are coming to the mass detector. Okay, so here in the mass detector, as I told you, the mass detector, it has got the mass detector has got, you know, here we have two sources. So in the mass detector, what's the principle of function of the mass detector? It is, there are three things which happens. One is, you know, here in the mobile phase is a liquid. So the liquid mobile phase passes through the HPLC system, and then it moves on to the column. So column is where the separation takes place. Moving on to the mass detector. Okay, so in the mass detector, what actually, so how exactly it functions is, one is it has got, you know, the first part is the separation takes place here. The column is here, the stationary phase here, the mobile phase travels through the auto sampler, it takes the sample, comes to the stationary phase, the separation actually takes place here. So when the separation takes place here, it comes as a liquid here. It comes as a liquid. So this liquid phase has to be converted to a gaseous phase. First, in the mass detector, the liquid phase has to be converted to a gaseous phase. So when we have to convert to the gaseous phase, then how the gaseous phase has been converted, it is been converted with the help of ionizers. So the three principle of function which is happening in a mass detector is, first is the ionization, then you have the analyzing, and then you have the detector. We call it as analyzer, and then we have the detector. So ionization, your conversion of the liquid phase into the gaseous phase, which happens at the ionizers, and those ions, the charged ions which are actually being formed through the ionizers, are being moved to the analyzer. So the mass analyzer here is the one which is actually determining what is the m by z of the ions or the molecules. So from that, the mass analyzer identifies what is the m by z of the compound, and those ions are next sent to the detector, the mass detector, the channel electron multiplier. So it is sent to the detector, and the detector is the one which identifies so what is the spectra. So that can be viewed through the system through the software. So this is the function. So in the mass detector, there are three things which is going to happen. One is ionization, analyzing, and then final to the detector, which determines. So when we talk about ionization, so we have two analyzers. There are different ionizers. You have the ESI, you have the APCI, you have the APPI. So based on what is the nature or what is the polarity of the compound, you know, we are going to identify the we are going to determine the compound. So this is the mass analyzer. So this is the we called as electrospray ionization. Okay, so in the electrospray ionization, you have there. So here initially you have one cable through which the electrical potential is being applied. Then you have the nitrogen gas. Okay, through this. So if you see here, through this you are applying the potential, as well as through this valve you are supplying the nitrogen gas. So what is happening is, so when the purpose of this nitrogen gas is, you know, to sprinkle the larger droplets into a finer droplets. So these final droplets would be coming out through this cone. You can see a cone here. Through this it will be sprinkled. So when you are sprinkling it at this juncture, okay, this juncture, so this is nothing but, so this portion is actually called as the atmospheric region. You can sir. This portion is actually called as the atmospheric region. So here we are applying high temperature. So when you are applying high temperature, the water droplets which is sprinkled through here, when the droplets come out here, due to that, no desolvation of the droplets takes place. Desolvation means when we are applying here, so here the solvent which is surrounding the ion, the molecule, is actually being evaporated due to the temperature. Now these neutral ions are actually being formed, or the charged ions are being formed. These charged ions are now sent to the mass analyzers. So here, that how the charged ions is, here we are having the electrical potential. Through this we are supplying the electrical potential, and through this we are supplying the nitrogen gas. So for that too, so once this happens, it goes to the mass analyzer. So this is the electrospray ionization. So similarly, we do have called as atmospheric pressure chemical, APCI. We do call it as APCI. So we have APCI okay. So this is your the AP, this is your ESI. So we have APCI also, we have the APCI so we have the APCI probe, we do call it as the probe. So we do have APCI also. So as our pharmaceutical components, most of our pharmaceutical components, nearly 95% of our pharmaceutical components are polar in nature. So we can go by the electrospray ionization. In case it can support, the electrospray ionization can support highly polar to mid non-polar. And in case if the drug is non-polar in nature, then we can use the atmospheric pressure chemical ionization ionizers. So the same thing, this component has to be removed and we need to fit in the the APCI source. So it depends on what is the component. So the first part is the ionization. So whatever component which is being carried out here, which whatever component which has been separated through the ionizers are sent to the analyzer, and then analyzer is the one. So here what analyzer we are having is, today we will be discussing about the quadrupole type of analyzers. So especially in the mass spectrophotometry, there are different analyzers. So here today we are going to discuss about the quadrupole type of analyzers. So this quadrupole type of analyzers are nothing but, it is a 4 rods. There are 4 rods, and there is an RF DC voltage which will be applied to this. So completely from here, all electrical potentials has to be applied until the last part where the detector identifies the ions. Till then, the electrical potential will be there. So at the analyzer, it is a 4 rod. So these 4 rods, the RF DC currents would be applied to those 4 rods which are there. So these ions would be traveling at the center of all these 4 rods. So when these ions are traveling at the center of all these 4 rods, so what is happening is, there is an RF DC voltage which is happening. So when so what is this RF DC voltage change is, now suppose what is the ion which we want to have. So what will happen is, when it is traveling, suppose for example our compound of our interest, ions, is positively charged. So we need those positively charged ions to reach the detector. So what happens is, so when it is charging here in the quadrupole type, so this RF DC voltage will be changing. So initially 2 parallel rods would be of 1 charge and 2 other parallel rods would be of other charge. So one will be a positive charge, another will be negative charge. So now it will, when as I said, suppose if our ions are of positively charged, so what will happen is, now this ion, when it goes towards the positive ion, so the repulsion will happen. So the attraction will go to the next rod which is of negative charge. So this ion will be moving towards the negative charge rod. So when it is moving towards the negative charge rod, so what happens there? Now that rod, so I told switchover of the RF DC current. So when it is happening there, then that negatively charged electrode the quadrupole rod, it will be converted to the positively charged. So like this, in a wave motion, so continuously there is a switchover of this. So based on that, finally by that means is the ions are actually moving on to the detector. Okay, so that is what is actually happening here in the mass. So this is how exactly the mass actually functions here. So this is the other source which we were talking about. We call it as the APPI source, okay, so or the ionizers. So here this is especially used for the non-polar components. If the components is very non-polar, so it cannot, those ionizations have been not help through the ESI, then we can go for this APCI. So here the APCI, the same process happens here. So the only charge is, so here we are in the system, we are going to give, so in the ESI, I explained in the ESI, so you are giving the electrical potential, okay, the electrical potential is applied. So there the electrical potential is applied, and then through that you are passing the nebulizer gas, through where you are getting the charged droplets. So when it is coming out of the ionizers, it comes as a charged droplets. In case of APCI, the liquid is coming as a droplet. So here when it comes out the droplet, the desolvation line takes place here. So when the desolvation line takes place here, so after is where through the help of the corona discharge needle. So the corona discharge needle will be perpendicularly placed towards this cone. So when the droplets is coming out through the corona discharge needle, which is giving, where we are applying 5 kilovolt voltage, okay, where we are applying the 5 kilovolt voltage. So those droplets, when it comes to the atmospheric region, it desolvation happens, neutral ions are formed, and then these, through the help of that corona discharge needle, so we are applying the voltage. So here in case of APCI, what happens is the liquid mobile phase comes to the ionizer, and then it doesn't comes as a charged droplet. So it goes through this one, fine sprinkles of these liquid has happens, small to smaller droplets, desolvation happens. Through the corona discharge needle is where the ions or the neutral ions are actually getting charged, okay. So this is the APCI probe or the ionizers. So now, as I said, initially when we are switching over, so when we are switching on the system, so always there is a procedure how this machine has to be switched on and switched off. So when we are switching on the system, it has to, as I told you, this complete hardware, this portion is actually the hardware. So this hardware has to be switched on first. So the hardware has to be switched on first, and then we move on to the software. When it comes to the switching off, it is the reverse way, the vice versa. From the software, switch off, and then switch off the hardware. When you are switching on, it is from the hardware to the software, from the switching off software to the hardware. Because, why I am trying to tell, because this is an important factor, because now as I told you, this I have manually operated now. This complete system is going to be functioned using a software. And the software what we are having today is the lab solution. So every manufacturer have got their own softwares, but the core functioning of those softwares remains the same. So the Simachu have got their software has lab solutions for functioning of these mass detectors. Now this, why I have told you about the switching off and switching on of the system, because the connectivity should happen between the hardware and the software. When we are running through the software, the connectivity should happen between the hardware and the software. When there is no connectivity between the software and the hardware, so whatever command, it's something like a robotic motion. So now whatever function I would like to do it in this hardware, I program it in the software. So it is a robotic motion which is going to happen. Now whatever command which I am giving here has to be transformed, to be transferred to these hardwares. So that is where when it will take. Suppose for example, I have kept a sample at a vial, in the auto sampler in a particular vial number. Now I am going to give the command there. So when I am giving the command has to be transferred to this hardware, and henceforth the action happens in the hardware. So there should be a connectivity link between these two, and that is why I said, when you're switching on, when we do it in this process where this connectivity of the system actually happens between the software and the hardware. Is that clear? So now once through the software everything is over, so there are other factors also which are very required. So here there are some factors which are very required out here is the sample cleanliness. because the sample cleanliness is not there. What happens is sometimes it might clog the system. The capillary might be clogged, it might go clog on the in the detectors, it can get settled in the detectors. So you should be very careful in preparing the sample preparation, whether it could be the standard or it could be the biological samples or any samples which are prepared. The sample cleanliness is the highly precautionary measure which to be taken when we are going through the mass detectors, because once it clogs, then it's very difficult to remove those this one. And here in the mass spectrophotometry, so here we are using these volatile buffers. So when we are using these volatile buffers, so as I told you here, these gaseous ions are going to be converted into the neutral ions or the charged ions. So how this happens is, see now here I told you the desolvation. So when we are using a volatile buffer, so especially in the mass analysis, we are going to use only volatile buffers. So that is where when those mobile phase come in contact in the atmospheric region of the ionizer, where these desolvation happens immediately, because these are need to take place instantly, so that the desolvation happens, the ions are formed, ions are moving through the from the ionizer to the analyzers, the ions move inside, then you have these all those components which have been fitted in out here. So and the detection of the components do happen in the detector. So these are utmost precautionary measures which we need to be taken when we are going through the mass analyzers. So here, as I told you, it is only volatile buffers. So when these, what are the various volatile buffers? The volatile buffers, you know, you have the ammonium formate, you have the ammonium acetate, you have the formic acid, you have ammonia solution, acetic acid. So there are limitations in the buffer, whereas in your HPLC you have a lot of other buffers, salt buffers which could be used, but those salt buffers cannot be used here, because what happens is it might, when one is desolvation will not happen, other thing is it will go and clog the system. So it can get precipitated, it can go clog the capillary. So once the capillary is being clogged, the flow of the liquid will not happen through the ionizers. So this is what is actually here. So the sample cleanup is very important here, and at the same time here, what are the components which we can analyze? We can analyze all biologicals to the synthetic to the natural, all sorts of components here. So now I told you here today our system is the analyzer. What type of analyzer we are having is the mass quadrupole type of analyzers. So when we say quadrupole type of analyzer, there are certain limitations. So here, to only small molecules with molecular mass of about below 2000 Daltons is where you can go and analyze through this quadrupole type of analyzers. Especially when we are using quadrupole type of analyzers, any component with a molecular mass below 2000 is what we can go for the analyzer of this quadrupole, because above that it cannot analyze. So that is another important factor which we need to keep in mind, that the compound which is below 2000 molecular mass is the one which we can analyze through the quadrupole analyzer. Suppose if it is the molecular mass is higher, then we can go for different other type of analyzers. You can go for TOF, you can go for MALDI, like when MALDI is, especially when we are going for higher molecular mass of components, then you can go for this MALDI type of this one. So the selection of the analyzer depends on what is the molecular mass or M by Z of the components. That's an important factor again also we need to keep in mind when we are going for the selection of the compounds. So we talked about the sample cleanup. Similarly, we are today in our demonstration, we are going to show you one sample, a sample how it is, from the start to the beginning. So the mobile phase will be prepared here. So I talked about the mobile phase. The mobile phase here is about, volatile buffers. So when I say volatile buffers, so what concentration of buffers which you can use is, the concentration of buffer which we can use is about only 10 millimolar. The maximum concentration which we can use is 10 millimolar. So you can't go beyond 10 millimolar. So we need to optimize our chromatographic or the mobile phase conditions within that range of 10 millimolar. Okay, and here you have other organic solvents like the methanol or acetonitrile, which can be used in other things. So that's the only one important factor which we need to keep in mind is here the buffers what we are using is all volatile buffers. So here we are now going to discuss about the sample preparation, especially when we are going to handle these biological samples. The biological samples need to be optimized. Optimization of the biological sample preparation plays a major role here. So now there are different methods. The drug has been there in the biological fluids, so or the biological matrices. So from the matrices we are to extract the drug, and then that sample needs to be analyzed to the mass detector. So today we are going to demonstrate the basic methodology which has been adopted in the sample extraction process. So here we have a biological matrix. So this is nothing but a plasma which we have. So now the drug is actually, we are going to spike the drug, and then after the spiking that drug we are going to go for the extraction. So how we are going to go for extraction? So here we have the blank plasma. So into the blank plasma, so this is here again in our analysis we have three parts. One is the development, then optimization, then validation of the method, and then later on is the sample analysis. So in the development stage, so here optimization, here sample preparation itself an optimization procedure where development has to happen for the optimization of the sample extraction. What is the correct mode, the solvent which is reused for the extraction, and then again sample cleanup, which would be the right technique for the sample cleanup, and the maximum amount of drug which could be recovered from the biological matrices. So that is what we are going to do here. So now we are going to demonstrate here, using the blank plasma, first preparing the blank plasma, a spiked plasma, followed by that to that spiked plasma we are using various so we are going to start today, we are going to explain on the precipitating technique. That is the initial basic technique. Okay, there are different techniques. You have the precipitation technique, you have the liquid extraction technique. You have then the best of all the extraction technique is the solid phase extraction techniques. You have the cartridges which have been used for the extractions, and so we shall start with the basically we'll be starting with the precipitation technique. Okay, so first we are going to spike the drug, and from there we are going to carry out some extraction, and how this process happens, the sequence of this process shall be demonstrated to you now. preparation has been done, the biological sample preparation has been done, and then this sample which is being extracted from the biological mattress, okay, will be transferred to the HPLC vials. So it in turn will be transferred to the HPLC vials, and that sample in turn will be kept onto the HPLC. And we talked about something called as the solid phase extraction technique. So this is the highly pure sample extraction procedure which we are going to talk about. This can otherwise be called as pre-column extraction. This is the cartridge, which here you can see the silica which has been filled here, and you have the SP extractor. So this is the SP extractor. So using this, so the same process, what happens is, this is a pre-column extraction. I said, this is a pre-column extractor, or this is the cartridge, and these cartridges are of different volumes and sizes. So here you have the silica. So in this solid phase extractions, you have different, there is a sequence of procedure which have to be followed here. So the initial phase is the condition process, and then you have the equilibration process, and then sample loading, then washing, and then sample elution. So these are the processes which will be involved in this extraction, ISP extraction or XPA technique. So first is we are going to condition this one. As this is, we are going to wet this silica which is present here. So this is going to be fitted into the SP extractor. So you are going to fit to the SP extractor, and here this is actually, here we are going to give a negative pressure. Okay, nowadays I think this is the oldest old form of the system where we are giving negative pressure, but nowadays I think we have this SP extractor where we have the positive pressure, which has been there, which has been built. So where the pressure is being applied from the top. So here you are fitting it to the the SP extractor, and the first part is to condition this. So initially we are going to pour the aqueous solution here, or it could be a water, or it could be a mobile phase or buffer. So when you are pouring it and we are applying the pressure, so when you are applying the pressure here, so the silica which is here in the dried form gets wetted. So once it is being wetted, so completely it goes to the wash, and then later on, next is we are going to pour we have to equilibrate. So equilibrate is we are activating these silica which is present in the cartridge. So now for that we will be pouring some organic solvents like methanol, acetonitrile, whatever it is. That is, again, as I said, all these are our optimization process. So we are pouring the organic solvent where the silica gets activated. So once it is activated, so whatever, as I said, the sample will be loaded. The biological matter sample will be loaded onto that, and it will be left on to react with this silica here. So once it is, once the sample reacts with these, or separates, passes through the silica, then we have the washing. So the washing process is where the other waste materials are actually being removed through, and then the drug is actually bound to this silica. So now when the drug is now bounded, and then with the help of washing stage where you are going to use the aqueous, to completely remove out other external materials from the biological matrices. So then now the drug will be bound here, and the last step is we call it as the elution step. So either you can use the organic solvent where the drug is actually been in which it can solubilize, or you can use the mobile phase. So again, as I said, all these are extraction optimization procedures. So you have the elution process where we are going to provide the elution solvent, and now what happens is the drug is bound into the silica here. So that bound drug, when this elution solvent goes in and here, so it will take the solvent. So at the bottom, that sample has to be collected, and similarly you have the HPLC vials. So to this vial we are going to transfer the liquid, the sample which has been separated, and it will be subjected to analysis. Okay, so this is the sample extraction procedure which is involved in the biological matrices. Apart from that, you have something called as the pre-filters. We call something as pre-filters, or the syringe filters we can call it as. Still, you can still filter those samples using those filters, again for the sample cleanup. So especially when we are analyzing through the mass this one, the sample cleanup process has utmost precautionary measures to be taken when analyzing these, because otherwise if small particles, even a minute tiny particle can go clog those systems, and then instrument can land up in breakdown. So and henceforth we cannot proceed on for the analysis.